Part 9. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 81. Chapter 81 Chapter 81 An Old Father's Smile. I don't think it's sexy, go and try it. Chu Hanyu took two pieces of the same style, and the two of them went to the fitting room together, one for each person. Chu Hanyu changed her clothes in 2 or 3 times, and ran to Zhang Xiaxi's fitting room. When she entered, she received a huge shock. When I entered, I felt that matching clothes with you was the biggest shock in my life. Tisk, 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 look at your bulging figure and those ridiculously long legs. I'm going to change into something different from the one you're wearing. Zhang Xiao looked at herself in front of the mirror and blushed in embarrassment. Although the person in the mirror had a baby face, she did have a supermodel-like figure. She had not paid much attention to Bai Yueguang's body before, but now she changed. Wearing this little black skirt made even her a little envious of Bai Yueguang's figure. Women all hope to have a waist thinner than an ant, as big as a steamed bun, and as long as a Victoria's Secret angel. Now that they have it, this is simply a sudden happiness. Children, what do you think of me wearing this? Chu Hanyu, a windy woman, quickly changed into a pink dress. She looked cute and playful, which suited her style. Very nice. Then let's go back to the concert. Chu Hanyu took Zhang Xiaxi's arm and walked out of the fitting room directly. She said to the store manager, and the store manager knew that it would be fine to just put the account on the Chu family's bill. Give Zhang Xiao a chance to speak. Two good-looking beauties, one in pink and one in black, are very likely to turn heads when they walk on the street. Our, Na Yuniu. Zhang Xiao turned around subconsciously when he heard someone calling him, and both of them said in unison, Uncle Yi. Yi Changji squinted at what they were wearing, and frowned slightly. He originally wanted to buy Chu Hanyu a birthday gift, but he didn't expect to meet these two girls. What are you two doing? Where to go? I'm going to see Uncle Zhao's concert, Chu Hanyu replied. You guys are going to wear this? Yi Changji glanced at them. Chu Hanyu even made a point of turning around twice, and asked with a smile on his face, Uncle Yi, does it look good? It looks good. Do you want me to send you there? No, we have a car. Goodbye, Uncle Yi. Yi Changji watched the two people leaving, took out his mobile phone and took 2 photos of their backs. He sent it to a circle of friends and wrote, I have a grown-up girl in my family. He was as happy as an old father. Less than a minute after sending the message to Moments, the phone rang, and a cold, silent voice reached his ears through the current. Where are they? Yi Changji was confused. Boss, who are you talking about? Ours. Fu Jianxiu's voice became a little darker. Yi Changji looked like he suddenly understood. When I was young, she went to see Lao Zhao's concert with Na Yuniu. As soon as Yi Changji finished speaking, there was only a beeping busy tone on the other end of the phone. Translated by Yi Chang. What's going on? Makes me confused. Then the phone rang again, with the same cold voice as Fu Jianxiu's. Where are they to? This time he came to his senses and answered, when I was young, I went to see Lao Zhao's concert with Na Yuniu. Is that what they are going to wear? Well, the little girls have finally grown up and become a bit feminine. Yi Changji raised his old father's smile. Dudu. It was the busy tone of the phone again. Yi Chang translated. What's wrong with this? Thank you for the sunny days after the rain, you 2079, Lotus Mist, Yan Ran little cutie, the young hero of Palace Master Yu Chan, Plum, sea reflects the blue sky, the other side of the world, Korean, and other cuties for your recommendation votes. It's another day of scrolling and asking for votes, book reviews, activity, and votes. End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 82. Chapter 82 Chapter 82 Two Little White-Eyed Wolves. Concert backstage. Zhang Xiaoxiao and Chu Hanyu first went to say hello to Zhao Huiyan, and then wandered around backstage to see if they could meet Ye 11. "You two ladies, this is the backstage. You can't mess around. Please go back to your seats," the staff stopped them politely. "If you can enter the backstage and your dress and temperament are online, then you must be someone they can't afford to offend. So have a better attitude." Chu Hanyu was still looking around the backstage, but he still didn't embarrass the staff and reluctantly pulled Zhang Ziaxi to leave. Zhao Huiyan's agent came over and said, "Miss Xiao, brother Zhao asked you to come over. He needs a favor from you." "Zhangxi, what are you busy with?" "You'll know when you come with me," the agent said. Zhang Xiaoxiao followed the manager in confusion, and Chu Hanyu naturally followed. At this time, Zhao Huiyan has already changed her clothes. She is wearing a black motorcycle style and a small smoky makeup. Her whole person looks like a monster, so it makes sense that he has been famous for 10 years. Zhao Huiyan looked at Zhang Ziaxi with a smile. "Xiao Xiao, you have to do Uncle Zhao a favor this time." "Zhang Xiao." This smile is a bit malicious. "Uncle Zhao, please stop laughing, the creases are showing at the corners of your eyes." Seeing that he was smiling so obscenely, Chu Hanyu couldn't help but tease him. As expected, Zhao Huiyan immediately suppressed her smile, picked up the powder box at hand, took a photo of it, and only felt relieved after making sure that there were no wrinkles. She glared at Chu Hanyu angrily. "Naiyuniu, little girl, don't be so naughty, or you won't be able to get married." "Uncle Zhao, you are indeed old. Have you forgotten that An Xiaoxian and I are engaged? If your memory continues to deteriorate like this, I will have to sew words on your clothes after you are a child to prevent you from finding your home." Chu Hanyu quarreled with Zhao Huiyan with a crooked smile and a pointed mouth. Zhao Huiyan felt that she would be to death by this girl, so she looked at Zhang Ziaxi, pitifully trying to gain sympathy. "Xiao Xiao, help Uncle Zhao quickly, stop Naiyuniu's mouth, otherwise Uncle Zhao will really faint here." Zhang Xiaoxiao looked at Zhao Huiyan's exaggerated acting skills indifferently and said, "Uncle Zhao, you really have a nasolabial fold." Zhao Huiyan. "Sooner or later, he will be to death by these two little white-eyed wolves." "Xiao Xiao, Uncle Zhao has come to see you for some serious business. Can you and Uncle Zhao do an opening dance together?" Zhao Huiyan has felt that talents cannot be buried since she saw Zhang Xiaoxiao dance in the bar. It's all because the boss was too strict in the past. As a result, he had never seen dancing as a child. "Me?" Zhang Xiao pointed at himself uncertainly. "Of course it's you, is it Naiyuniu, a girl with uncoordinated limbs?" Zhao Huiyan looked at Chu Hanyu with disgust. Chu Hanyu gritted her teeth and stared at Zhao Huiyan. Her limbs were not coordinated, which was her flaw, but now that he had said it so fruitlessly, she still couldn't bear to lose face. She was ready to bite Zhao Huiyan a few times. Zhao Huiyan immediately took out a Ye 11. The signed photo is still a private photo. Chu Hanyu's eyes shone, his attitude changed 180 degrees, and he said flatteringly, "Uncle Zhao, tell the truth." Zhao Huiyan. "Chu Hanyu, is your level of good looks really reasonable? Even the high-definition cameras outside can't capture your beauty." Zhao Huiyan. "Zhang Ziaxi, isn't it true that I didn't learn this rainbow fart from a certain music?" End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 83. Chapter 83. Chapter 83. Very happy? In the end, Zhang Xiao still helped Zhao Huiyan. At this time, she was wearing a mask and standing on the circular lifting platform. Zhao Huiyan was on the other side of the lifting platform. Hearing the screams of tens of thousands of fans outside, she couldn't help but nervously grab the hem of her skirt and take a deep breath. Suddenly, the elevator moved and she was rising slowly. Finally she stood on the stage and quickly ran to the middle of the stage to dance with Zhao Huiyan. Their joint dance was Yaya, Kim Hyun's troublemaker. When Zhang Xiao met up with others, she discovered that the person dancing with her was not Zhao Huiyan at all, but someone else. At this time, the music was playing and she had no time to think too much. She could only dance to the rhythm, and her little black dress swayed with her dancing posture, which was stunning. Homonym. Under the dark stage, a man with a cold and profound face stared at the people on the stage with scarlet eyes as deep as a cold pool. Zhang Xiaoxiao concentrated on finishing the dance. Zhao Huiyan came on the stage at this time, and she and her male partner exited. Zhang Xiao took off his mask, sweat was pouring on his forehead, and he was breathing heavily. Dancing was very tiring. You dance very well. Suddenly a loud sound sounded. Zhang Xiao's heart stopped for a moment. He raised his head and saw the person in front of him. His already pink face turned a shade darker. He was completely confused. What should I say? Excited? No, I can't describe it as excited at all, but I don't know what words to use. The idol she had liked for 8 years was standing in front of her like this. Although she only had the same face, she had danced such a dance with him just now. She wanted to scream like crazy, but she was afraid. Scared his idol. Trying his best to suppress his excited heart, with trembling little hands and stumbling, he shyly answered his idol, I can't dance as well as you. After Zhang Xiaoxiao said this, he wanted to slap himself. How could he use such loquacious dialogue and not leave a good impression on his idol? Zhang Xiao was uneasy here, but Yi 11 chuckled softly and asked, do you want to take a photo? Zhang Xiao looked at his pair of charming pear dimples as if he was dumbfounded, and nodded. Yi 11's smile deepened, mobile phone. Zhang Xiaoxiao handed him the phone blankly. Yuxi clicked on the camera function. Zhang Shi was tall enough so he didn't have to lower his head to cooperate. The two of them moved slightly closer. Smile. Zhang Xiao cooperated instinctively, and his round eyes that were a bit alluring were curved like crescent moons. After the photo was taken, Zhang Xiaoxiao took his phone back and looked through the photo he just took. The handsome man and beautiful woman in the photo are very eye-catching. If it weren't for the handsome, dark, and gloomy face at the back, everything would be perfect. When Zhang Xiaoxiao saw Fu Chenxiao's face, his hands, which were shaking with excitement at the sight of his idol, turned into helpless zombies with cold and stiff hands and feet. Turning back stiffly, the man was less than 100 meters away from her. His tall and straight body gave people a strong sense of oppression, his face was gloomy, and his cold eyes staring into the deep valley made people feel frightened. Zhang Xiao's face turned pale, and her great desire to survive made her forget about her idol. She took a small step, leaned over, licked her lips, and called out tremblingly, Uncle Wu. Fu Chenxiao's eyes were like precision instruments, scanning her from beginning to end, and his voice was confusing, very happy. End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 84. Chapter 84. Chapter 84 is not very happy either. Zhang Xiao nodded and started to shake his head, I'm not very happy either. Fu Chenxiao stared at her erratic eyes, his voice deepened a bit, I see you are very happy. Zhang Xiao. She felt this sentence was sour. Zhang Xiaoxiao is now like a shrunken turtle. He is so cowardly that he defends himself in a low voice and weakly, I am very happy to see the idol. Uncle Zhao asked me to help dance with the idol. I didn't know about it in advance. Zhao Huiyan, who was singing and dancing on the stage, suddenly felt a cold wind blowing by. Come over. Zhang Xiaoxiao obediently approached the boss, and was instantly enveloped in warmth. The boss's black suit jacket was draped over her body, covering her skin exposed to the air without leaking any trace. Who allowed you to wear such revealing clothes? The boss's voice was obviously filled with anger this time. Zhang Xiaoxiao sold Chu Hanyu very unfaithfully. Hanyu said it was very beautiful. Ah! The boss snorted coldly and looked at her with cold eyes. Showing your arms and legs makes you look good. Zhang Xiaoxiao, do you want to learn the Fu family's house rules again like Manman did? Zhang had her head hanging down when she was young and didn't dare to speak. She didn't dare to confront the boss, especially after the boss confessed to her. Her life is difficult now, walking on thin ice, and she is always on guard against being harmed. Fu Chenxiao stared at Jiang's long legs that were still exposed to the air. His cold eyes darkened. Go back with me. Oh, Zhang Xiao followed him cowardly. Stepping out of the backstage, she met Chu Hanyu, who was also wearing a men's jacket like her. When he saw Zhang Xiaoxi, Chu Hanyu kept blinking at her and motioned her to check her phone later. However, she completed the series of actions while hiding behind a Nangsuan. When she saw Fu Chenxiao's cold eyes, Chu Hanyu leaned against an Nangsuan weakly. An Nangsuan looked at Zhang Xiaoxi and said worriedly, Xiao Xiao, please apologize to your fifth uncle when you get back. Zhang Xiao nodded obediently. Fu Chenxiao looked away from Chu Hanyu and said in a cold voice, like a warning, watch your son, or I will help you educate him. Chu Hanyu said. The sound is so scary. And Nangsuan really touches my old father's heart. The atmosphere that was not very good at first was suddenly broken. Boss, second child, Xiao Xiao, Nayuniu, you are all here. It seems that I came at the right time. Yi Changji walked towards them with a smile on his face. The two little white-eyed wolves very consciously lowered their sense of existence. Yi Changji, a person who never pays attention to the atmosphere and whose emotional intelligence is as low as zero, spoke up, when I was young, your opening dance was really good. You might as well make your debut in the future. Don't you like that, Yi 11? Let your fifth uncle pay for you to film with him. The cold air in the air suddenly dropped. Yi Changji rubbed his arms and said in a nonchalant way, it suddenly feels a little cold. Jiangxi. Chu Hanyu. And Nangsuan. Someone comes and takes this idiot brother away. Did he have eyes in vain? I didn't see the boss's face change after he finished speaking. I don't know that the boss likes to be young. I can forgive you, but can you not cheat yourself? No one will die if you talk less and shut up. Do you have to commit suicide yourself? Boss, if you agree, I'll pay for the filming with Yi 11. It's a birthday gift for me. Yi Changji didn't feel anything was wrong at all. Please vote, babies, I have been updating at night, can you please save your votes for me at night? End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 85. Chapter 85. Chapter 85. My madness depends on you. And Nangsuan winked hard at his silly brother, hoping that his silly brother would stop talking. Boy, did you get sand in your eyes? Yi Changji saw that he kept blinking and asked Duan Jian with concern. And Nangsuan? He really wanted to lead the dog in place. Chu Hanyu hid behind an Nangsuan and snickered. Zhang Xiao also wanted to laugh, but in front of the big boss, she didn't dare to be too arrogant, so she could only purse her lips, half smiling but not smiling, and endured the pain. Yi Changji looked at them in confusion. What are you laughing at? Three people. Fu Chenxiao glanced at him coldly. Chang Yi, go back and help me tell your mother what she said. I agreed. Yi Changji looked at Fu Chenxiao with a confused expression. She gave him a sympathetic look. He remembered correctly. Yi's mother asked the boss to let Yi Changji become a father within a year. It seemed that there would be a lot of women appearing in front of Yi Changji in the future. He was scared just thinking about it. Feel terrible. Translated by Yi Chang. Nangzi Yuan. Fu Chenxiao trapped Zhang Xiaoxiao in his arms, holding her delicate chin with one hand, staring at her blinking eyes with his dark eyes. You have been hiding from me for so many days, how long are you going to hide? Zhang Xiao bit his lip when he spoke. Fu Chenxiao narrowed his eyes slightly, surrounded by hostility. When I was young, I gave you time, not to let you avoid me. If you are avoiding me, I really don't mind letting you hate me, you know. Zhang Xiao's face was pale, his lips trembled slightly, and he nodded. Fu Chenxiao looked at her grey face, his black eyes narrowed slightly, and a burst of anger rushed straight to his forehead. He suddenly raised her chin and covered it with her thin lips. Zhang Xiaoxiao's pupils trembled violently, his mind went blank, and he completely lost the ability to think. At first, Fu Chenxiao just wanted to give her a little punishment to let her get used to his intimacy, but the person in his arms was someone he had loved for a long time. How could such a simple touch be enough to satisfy him? He then increased the strength in his hands, then he deepened the kiss. Well. Zhang Xiao felt it was difficult to breathe, his face was red from holding back, and he could only resist with a small hand. Fu Chenxiao was as motionless as Mount Tai. It wasn't until he felt Zhang Xiao's difficulty in breathing that he reluctantly left her lips. Dark eyes stared darkly at the red and swollen corners of Zhang Xiao's lips. This is punishment. Zhang Xiao's heartbeat was beating chaotically, and her whole body was trembling slightly because of what he said. She was not generally afraid. While she was afraid, there was another strange emotion in her heart that was affecting her. This feeling made her very uneasy and confused. It was an emotion that she couldn't grasp, and she was very helpless. Fu Chenxiao's eyes darkened, and his tone was domineering. If anyone dares to make irresponsible remarks about the person I, Fu Chenxiao, want to marry, I will make it difficult for his family. Zhang Xiao's face turned several shades pale, his face tightened, and he blurted out, "You're crazy. When I was young, it all depended on you whether I was crazy or normal." Fu Chenxiao's every word was extremely serious, and her appearance was reflected in his dark eyes. Zhang Xiaoxiao looked at Fu Chenxiao with her round eyes, her lips trembled slightly and she was speechless. She had never thought that the boss was so paranoid about Baiyu Eguang. "Thank you Hai Ying Lan Tian for the tip." "Thank you, Yan Ran, the cute little girl, Buona Fortuna, law-abiding children, lazy kittens, thin summer breeze, the young hero of the Lord of the Jade Chan Palace, recalling the falling flowers, like smoke and dreams, getting drunk late at night, Midsummer Night Star, Korean, Yuxian, Beginner's Heart, and other recommendations from friends. There are also little cuties who recommend voting. Please vote for Shishi, I beg you. Moi. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 86. Chapter 86. Chapter 86. Unable to refute. Zhang Xiao couldn't say a word for a long time, and finally gave up weakly. "Uncle Wu, it's getting late, you should go back and rest." "Drive me away." The man's voice was drawn out, his eyes narrowed like a wolf lurking in the forest, dangerous and ferocious. Zhang Shishi shook his head very timidly and defended himself in a low voice. "Uncle Wu, I just think it's very late. There are differences between men and women. It's not good for you to stay in my room for too long." Fu Chenxiao chuckled and was silent for a second. His slender fingers with clear joints traced her cheek. "When I was young, there were differences between men and women, but they could only be used for other people, because sooner or later you and I would both be different. It will be integrated." Zhang Xiaoxiao. She really didn't dare to talk to the boss at all. She was afraid that talking would only speed up the boss's reconciliation with her, which would make her feel aggrieved. Sleep. Fu Chenxiao's tall body moved, and soon Zhang Xiaoxiao was brought into the big bed with him. Zhang was hugged by someone when she was young. She moved her body excitedly and joked that she would sleep with the boss in the same bed. She was definitely out of her mind. He pursed his lips, took a deep breath, and mustered up the courage to speak, "Uncle Wu, we can't sleep together." Fu Chenxiu frowned, and looked at Zhang Xiaoshi quietly with his dark eyes. There was nothing absolutely wrong with him, and he still said in a matter-of-fact tone, "What's wrong? You slept with me before you were 12 years old, and you will also sleep with me in the future. You have to sleep with me." Zhang Xiao said. She actually couldn't refute the boss. Bai Yueguang was very attached to the boss when she was a child. She slept with the boss until she was 12 years old. Then one day she was kicked out by the boss after she came into contact with women's unique things. When she went out to sleep by herself, Bai Yueguang cried and developed a high fever and was hospitalized for a week. Looking back at these memories of Bai Yueguang, Zhang Xiaoxiao suddenly felt a little envious of Bai Yueguang. He has been held in such good hands since he was a child. If he is not mixed with the love of a big boss, then he is lucky. I don't know whether it's a blessing or a misfortune to have the relationship with a big boss. Now that she is not Bai Yueguang, she cannot accept sleeping with a man for the night. She does not dare to argue with the boss, so she can only open her eyes in depression and stubbornness and dare not sleep. Fu Chenxiu lowered his eyelids slightly and could see a certain one in his arms. He stubbornly challenged himself, smiled helplessly, and suddenly began to hum a song. This was the first time Zhang Xiaoxiao heard the big brother singing. It was very deep and not harsh at all. Although it was not as good as her idol's singing, it was surprisingly comfortable. Listening to the big brother's low singing, Zhang Xiao slowly began to doze off with eyes bigger than those of a cow. Fu Chenxiu's lips curled up slightly and he said in a deep voice, "Go to sleep when you're sleepy." Zhang Xiao was scorning his face and pouting, with a hint of dissatisfaction in his words, "I don't want to sleep." "You don't want to sleep, what do you want to do?" Fu Chenxiu asked her funny. "Of course I'm looking at you. Who knows if you might do something to me in the middle of the night." Zhang Xiao was a little confused at this time, and his eyes had narrowed into a thin line. Fu Chenxiu frowned and twitched the corners of his mouth. The little girl was as guarded against him as if she were guarding against something else. He stretched out his hand to close her eyes and murmured, "Whatever I want to do to you, I will wait until you are 18, soon." Zhang was really sleepy when she was young. She went shopping and danced, which exerted a lot of physical energy, so she basically didn't hear what the boss said later. "Thank you for the reward from the cute little girl, diligent is in the code." End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 87. Chapter 87. Chapter 87. Ghosts crying and wolves howling. The next day, Zhang Xiao was woken up by a burst of howling ghosts and wolves. "Boss, help me, my mother got a bunch of monsters from nowhere, showed up in my room and even took off my pants." Yi Changji stood outside his apartment wearing big pants and called Fu Chenxiu. Fu Chenxiu glanced at Zhang Xiaoshi in his arms and calmly listened to the howling ghosts and wolves on the other end of the phone. Fu Chenxiu didn't say anything. Yi Changji thought his cell phone had no signal, so he took the cell phone away from his ear, took a look, and continued talking. "Boss, did you hear me?" "Yeah." Fu Chenxiu answered him kindly this time. Yi Changji was overjoyed when he heard his reply, his eyes were shining with hope. "Boss, please help me quickly. My mother is absolutely crazy. I must leave a wife for the old Yi family. Boss, you know, except for the two little girls at home, I avoid all other women, commonly known as gynophobia. Fu Chenxiu didn't even raise his eyelids, and said indifferently, "As the 9th generation of the Yi family, it is your duty to reproduce." Yi Changji felt as if he had been struck by lightning. He stood there with the light of hope in his eyes disappearing. He couldn't believe what he heard. It was the boss who unconditionally helped the family to get rid of the problem. What happened now? He did something wrong. What's wrong? I provoked the boss, but the boss didn't even help me. Yi Changji's helpless phone has turned black. As soon as Fu Jianxiu hung up Yi Changji's phone, Fu Jianxiu's phone rang again, with the sound of ghosts crying and wolf howling again. Boss, I was wrong, please help me get rid of those shady materials. Zhao Huiyan is now trapped in the old house, crying and calling Fu Jianxiu. He should not have wanted to kill a certain possessive and terrifying man last night. When he woke up this morning, he saw the unknown black information about him and the ridiculous things he had done in the past. He was caught directly from bed this morning by the old man's people and took him home to interrogate him about those things. Is it real? Later, the old man didn't care whether it was true or not, he had already asked someone to investigate. If he found that person, he would really just play for fun. If a leaf among thousands of flowers does not touch him, then the cliff will have no chance with him. He doesn't want to. After getting the mobile phone, she called Fu Jianxiu. Boss, I was wrong. I was really wrong. You are a grown-up and don't care about me. I'm a kid. Isn't this still with you? She can't run away. Boss, just forgive me, can I? Fu Jianxiu hung up the second phone call expressionlessly. When you wake up, get up. Zhang Xiaoxiao originally wanted to pretend to be dead, but then he thought that he couldn't escape the boss's eyes, so he might as well be obedient, opened his eyes and said awkwardly, Uncle Wu, good morning. It is noon now. Zhangxi. Are you hungry? Fu Jianxiu looked down at her. Hungry, Zhang Xiao's stomach growled twice in dissatisfaction. Then get up and eat. Fu Jianxiu moved his arms. Zhang Xiao sat up in embarrassment, her fair little face slightly flushed with pink. It was really a slap in the face. She clearly promised not to sleep because she wanted to compete with the boss to the end, so why did she fall asleep? Why did I still sleep soundly in the boss's arms all night? It's embarrassing, it's really embarrassing. When Zhang Xiao took a look at the boss's face, he actually found saliva stains on the boss's sleeves. He really didn't notice anyone. Woo-woo-hoo. I'm missing one and will make it up tomorrow night. I'm too sleepy. I'm sorry everyone. End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 88. Chapter 88. Chapter 88. You must not be able to bear to see me in despair. Zhang Xiao went downstairs to have breakfast, the boss went to the company, and she went to school. As soon as she sat down in her seat, Yu Yang came to her side and said, when I was little, Aunt Fu asked you to go to her house with me after school. Zhang Xiaoxiao suddenly became energetic and his eyes became bright. Okay, you can wait for me after school. Child, are you plotting something? Chu Hanyu was very strange today, wearing a mask, only revealing his brown deer eyes. Zhang Xiao was not prepared to tell her. She had a hunch that something bad would happen if she told this silly girl, so she casually said, I guess Grandpa missed me and asked Aunt Fu to come to me. Last time something like that happened in the old house. With Uncle Wu's temper, even if Grandpa came to see me, he would be upset, so he came to me through Yu Yang. Chu Hanyu believed what Zhang Xiaoxiao said without any doubt, nodded in agreement, and lowered his voice and said in her ear, Xiaoxiao, Uncle Zhao was avenged by Uncle Fu Wu last night, and he is still on the hot search list. The corner of Zhang Xiao's mouth twitched. Of course she knew that she had already heard the cries of ghosts and howlings this morning. It's a waste of money if it stays on the hot search list for one more second, and who else can spend so much money in Ruchin is Uncle Fu. When I was young, it must have been that you danced with Yi 11 yesterday, and Uncle Fu was jealous. Zhang Xiao. She knew that she knew everything. She knew it last night, but what could she do if she knew it? Nothing could be changed. Child, you have to help me. Uncle Zhao and Uncle Yi have both been retaliated against. I will be the next one. I asked you to dress so sexy, woo woo woo. Zhang Hour, so that's why you wear a mask. When you were young, you couldn't bear to see my family become as desolate as the Zhou family. Could you bear to see a little cutie like me living on the street? Zhang Xiao Xiao. Everyone was so frightened by the boss, of course she was also timid. When you were young, you must not have paid attention to the news about the Zhou family. Uncle Fu Wu helped that woman Zhou Yuling give out hundreds of millions to help their company tide over the difficulties. Who knew that her uncle took the money and ran away? Isn't it that the Zhou family now wants to? You can help me up, so you can't bear to see me become depressed, right? Zhang Xiao didn't pay much attention to the news, and she didn't have time to care. That day, the boss went to see Zhou Yuling and came back. She was almost harmed. Thinking about it, she was still scared. How could she be in the mood to care about how the Zhou family was doing? Whatever the outcome is, they deserve it. They don't take human life seriously. This is retribution. Don't worry, you still have your baby brother and you won't end up on the street. Zhang Xiao comforted her. Chu Hanyu lowered his eyelids in disappointment. When he went back last night, and Nangxuan did not only teach her a lesson, but she definitely didn't want to mention him now. It's my birthday on Friday, don't forget the time, Chu Han said. Zhang Xiaoxiu's heart trembled. Chu Hanyu said that her birthday was just a few days ahead of her. Once she celebrated her birthday, it would remind her that she didn't have much time, and her mood suddenly became not so good. When I was young, I'm afraid Uncle Fu Wu had already arranged your birthday for you, right? Chu Hanyu chatted with her. Zhang Xiaoxiao answered in his mind, of course he had thought about it. How could he not have thought about it? Well, after waiting so many years for her to reach 18, how could there not be a perfect ceremony to eat her? I worked overtime and was a little late. The babies have been waiting for a long time. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 89. Chapter 89. Chapter 89. Young Talents. Child, why don't you speak anymore? Chu Hanyu called her when he saw her in a daze. Zhang Xiaoxiao replied to her without looking too good, what is your theme this year? After all, it is an adult ceremony. Will it be different from previous years? Chu Hanyu recalled what her mother said, Na Yuniu, this year is the coming of age ceremony, so we will hold a wild party and invite all the young talents to come, and you can have fun by yourself. Zhangxi. Chu Hanyu didn't understand what her mother was doing. She and Nangxuan were still engaged no matter what, and her mother actually asked her to throw a wild party. Isn't this just cuckolding Nangxuan? So she was also confused by what her mother was doing. When I was young, did you think that my mother thought that girls should expand their horizons, so she asked me to hold such a party? Chu Hanyu frowned and said her guess. Zhang Xiao. How does she know what her mother thinks? Chu Hanyu scratched his head and ears without coming up with a reason, so he simply gave up and fell asleep on the table with his head covered. Afternoon. Zhang Xiao followed Yu Yang to Fu Yan's home. As soon as he arrived at the door, he saw and heard a loud voice, Xiao Xiao, I miss you so much. Grandpa hasn't seen you for a week. Please show me how fat you are. Still lost weight. Mr. Fu walked up to Zhang Xiaoxiao and looked at her with bright eyes. Zhang Xiao smiled sincerely at the old man, Grandpa, I am very good and in good health. Well, I think your face looks a bit sharper. You don't need to guess to know that Fu Jianxiu didn't take good care of you. The old man was very resentful towards Fu Jianxiu. Yu Yang listened to what they said and laughed heartily, Grandpa, you are always afraid that you need to wear reading glasses. You have never seen Zhang Xiao's double chin so obvious. Snapped. Yu Yang was hit the arm. Fu Yan glared at him, I think your eyes are really weak. You've been so thin since you were a child. Can't you see? Yu Yang. I feel aggrieved, are they all blind? Zhang Xiaoxiao had long been accustomed to the old man's desire to protect his calf, so he had guessed that Yu Yang would be beaten. Grandpa, let's play a game of chess. You asked me to come, don't you want me to accompany you to play 2 games? Mr. Fu is a good man, and of course he knows what Zhang Xiaoxi means. Originally, he called this girl over today because he had other things to do. He smiled happily and said, my family is still sensible when I was young. I will go and accompany my grandpa to the study to play 2 games. Grandpa, I will also play chess with you. Yu Yang wanted to follow him. Fu Yan frowned, wondering why this child was so out of touch. She scowled and said sternly, Yu Yang, why are you joining in the fun? Go help me buy something in the city and ask the housekeeper to go with you. Yu Yang. What's going on? What possessed him today? Everyone despises him. Zhang Xiaoxiao followed the old man to the study. The two set up the chessboard, and while playing chess, they talked. Xiaoxiao, you have finished what you asked your third aunt to do for you. Thank you, Grandpa. Zhang Xiao suppressed his inner excitement. The old man made a move and continued, where is your passport? Zhang was stunned when she was young. Yes, you need a passport to go abroad. Where is her passport? End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 90. Chapter 90. Chapter 90. Ups and Downs. The passport is with your 5th uncle. The old man seemed to have a pair of clairvoyant eyes and could see through what she was thinking. Zhang Xiaoxiao's face collapsed on the spot. The passport was with the big boss. Can she get it? The answer was that she couldn't get it without even thinking about it. Without a passport, her subsequent plans to go abroad were simply a mirror image. She refused to be able to get it. A dream come true. The changes on Zhang Xiao's face were visible to the naked eye. The old man looked at the little girl in front of him with distress. Don't be so sad. Grandpa has prepared a private jet for you. You can go directly there. Grandpa will also arrange the rest for you. Zhang Xiao had ups and downs of mood, great joy and great sadness. When I was young, when you went to study abroad, you should also come back to see Grandpa often. Grandpa will miss you. The old man's eyes were red, as if Zhang Xiaoxi was about to go abroad immediately. Zhang Xiaoxi's eyes turned red when she looked at the old man. She was brought into this world alone. What should her parents do? Isn't it sad? She actually likes it very much now. Bai Yueguang has also come to her own world. Can take care of her parents on her behalf. Jiang's tears were falling one by one since he was a child. Grandpa, I can't bear to leave you either. When you are young, you must take care of yourself outside. If you run out of money, call Grandpa. Grandpa's money is all yours, and you won't give any of it to those brats. Wow, Grandpa. When Fu Yan came in, she saw the old man and the young boy crying together, her eyebrows twitching. Dad, that's enough, Xiao Wu is here. Mr. Fu wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes and said irritably, is that brat a ghost? She couldn't have come to accompany the old man when she was little. How could I kidnap her away? Fu Yan. Aren't you kidnapping people right now? Zhang Xiaoxiao. Why did the boss come so quickly? Fu Chenexai went to pick up Zhang Xiaoxi after get off work, only to find out that she had come to Fu Yan's place. She came here directly from school. Why, I think I'm a kid, can't I even see her if I want to? The old man pointed the finger at Fu Chenexai when he saw him appearing. Fu Chenexai ignored the old man at all. He looked directly at Zhang Xiaoxiao behind him with his deep eyes. His dark eyes darkened and he said, why are you crying? Zhang Xiao wiped the corners of his eyes subconsciously, his eyes as red as rabbits. I'm not crying. Fu Chenexai. Mr. Fu was completely ignored by his son, and his face turned red. "Why, do you think I can still bully my old man when I was a child?" Fu Jianxiu frowned slightly and said helplessly to the old man, "Dad, if you are too free, you can go traveling." "Mr. Fu. Nizai. Come here," Fu Jianxiu said solemnly. Jiang's eyelids were twitching when she was young. She used to feel weak when something was on her mind. Now that the boss called her, she couldn't help but become even more nervous. She pursed her lips and walked towards Fu Jianxiu. "Uncle 5. Explain." Fu Jianxiu's voice was cold, and he stared at her sharply, waiting for her to explain why she was crying. Zhang Xiao pursed his lips and looked into his eyes guiltily. "I missed my grandpa. I cried when I saw him." Fu Jianxiu stared at her for a while with his eagle-like eyes. "If you want to see grandpa, you can tell me and I will take you back, but why do you have to sneak over here avoiding the bodyguards?" Zhang Xiao was tired when he thought about what he had done in the women's restroom and climbing the wall in order to get rid of the two bodyguards, just because he was afraid that they would snitch on Fu Jianxiu and the boss would still be able to find her. End of this chapter.